I just did this beautiful makeup look in just a couple of minutes with one compact with this amazing Seint makeup. Let me show you how I did it. All right, I'm gonna show you how to set up your Seint compact when you get it, and we're gonna do a quick tutorial on how to apply the makeup. Okay, so when you first get your makeup, it comes in these little tins. And so you're gonna take the lid off, you're gonna save the lid because if you need it later to store any colors that you've maybe swapped out, it's great to have the lid so that your makeup doesn't dry out. Okay, so when you get your compact, what you're gonna do is I like to set up my compact with my brightening shade first, then my main shade, then my contour. Then I like to put my bronzer close to my contour because they're similar in color. So if my brush happens to dip in one or the other, then that's okay. And then my Illuminator, and then my lip and cheek. Okay, and it doesn't really matter how you set it up. You kind of set it up what feels right to you. But this is how I typically like to set mine up. Using the lid, you can use your lid to actually remove the tins, okay? So save that because it's great instead of using your fingernail. So I'm gonna do a quick face and show you how to apply one layer of makeup with Seint and how you can do a beautiful makeup in just a couple of minutes. So you're gonna grab a brush, whichever brush you have purchased. Really love the 3D brush for beginners because it kind of gives you the best of everything in one of these double-ended brushes. I like to use my fingers also to apply the makeup and put it on in a cheetah hack. So I'll show you what the cheetah hack is. Basically, your face will be covered in dots and then you're gonna blend it all together. It's actually easier than it sounds. So I'm gonna start with my brightening shade. I like to put my brightening shade in the corners of my eyes where I have a bit of shadow. I like to put the brightening shade down here and down here and down the center of my face because this is what's going to create that dimension. Then I like to take my main shade. So my brightening shade is Candlelit. My main shade is Amber, and you may be a different shade. We will color match you to make sure you get the right colors before you purchase. I'm going to put main down here. You don't need a lot of product, okay? So when you put this color on, you're just touching very lightly in your tin. You don't need to put a heavy amount of makeup on. When we blend this all together, it will be a medium coverage. It's buildable, but I like to do a kind of a medium coverage on my skin. Okay, and then next, so basically what I've done here is I've put brightening down the center of my face, brightening right here under the eye and in the corners. This is going to help create some lift and dimension. And then I'm going to put contour. So contour goes on right where just, this is with the divot of the cheekbone for me right here. You're going to go just above that. So just on the ledge of that cheekbone. And this is going to be a little bit messy, and that's okay because once it all blends in together, it's going to look beautiful. And I'm just taking my fingers. I can do some more dots up here around the forehead line. This is going to create some shape and make the forehead appear a little bit smaller. And then I like to do down the sides of the nose like this. Boom. Some people like to put their blush on at this point. You can put your lip and cheek on at this point if you would like. I am actually going to wait until the end. I prefer to put my blush on after I've blended. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to blend from either darkest to lightest or lightest to darkest. It doesn't really matter which way you go, but what you want to do is you want to blend sort of in order so that you don't mix and match your colors all over your face. You want to be able to sort of keep them in the place where they were positioned so that it's one layer of makeup. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start blending my contour. So I'm going to blend my contour, not to over blend on the cheeks. That's one of the mistakes I made early on when I was doing my makeup. I was sort of over blending my cheek contour, and then I would go and apply more because I was kind of blending it in a little too much. So I'm just going to blend that like barely blend it, just enough to kind of get rid of the line, the harsh line, but keep that sort of definition in that contour. And then I'm gonna blend in the main shade, which you can kind of think of your main highlight as your foundation. If you want to think of those like traditional names for makeup, we call it a main highlight and a brightening highlight, but you can kind of think of that as your foundation. So everything goes on in one layer. We're not layering foundation, powder, contour, highlighter, layers and layers on our face, which can then lead to a cakey, heavy looking makeup, which would then possibly settle into like fine lines and wrinkles. We like to keep it nice and light. I'm gonna flip the brush over to the more pointed end to blend in around the eye area here. So any of those smaller areas, you can use the pointy end of your brush, or you can even use the pointy end of your brush for your contour if you prefer. There's lots of different ways that you can do this makeup, but this is just one of the easy ways to do it. And then I can blend in the rest of that brightening shade and blend the nose. And I'm just buffing lightly. I'm not pressing hard with the brush. So look how beautiful that looks already. And that was really easy. Okay, now, typically what I like to do is I like to give myself a little extra coverage under the eye area because I am a little bit hollowed out under the eyes. That's a typical thing of aging. So here's a trick I love to do. I like to take my beauty blender. This is the Perfector sponge. Could probably use a little bit of a cleanup, but I like to take the Perfector sponge, my setting spray. I'll spray just a little bit of the setting spray, just a little squirt on that. And it starts to expand as it gets wet. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm gonna take a little bit extra of the brightening shade. I'm just gonna tap gently into my brightening. Make sure I'm picking up something on the sponge. See, the sponge doesn't pick up a lot of makeup, which is actually great. Because it doesn't pick up a lot of makeup, you're not gonna remove your makeup when you blend in. And I like to just tap. See that? I'm just putting a little extra tapping. The reason why I like to do it with the sponge is I feel like if you dampen your sponge with a bit of setting spray, it really seems to stay wonderfully without creasing. I think the tapping motion really helps to press that makeup and not leave it sitting on top of your skin. So I love a really bright under eye there. So that's helped to eliminate some of that shadow. And now what I want to do is put on my lip and cheek color. I'm using Summer Love today. I just got this shade, it's brand new. And this one is a bit more glossy, so it's perfect for lips. And it is gonna give your skin a nice glow on your cheeks without looking greasy. So I'm gonna take the end of my brush and I'm gonna tap it, just tap it, and then I tap it into my cheeks. So this is a really pretty, really nice and dewy, summer pinky, but not overly pink color. Summer Love is really, really pretty. Looks great on everyone. Gorgeous. Okay, look how pretty this looks already. That was so simple. That just took a couple of minutes. When you do that stippling motion, that tapping, it really helps the makeup to not sit on the skin. It helps to make the pores look smaller. It's gonna look awesome when you use that stippling motion. And then last but not least, I love to set my makeup with my Perfector sponge and my setting spray. So I'm just gonna give a generous spray of setting spray on the Beauty Blender, and then I kind of just squeeze it and tap once again the setting spray. What you want in a sponge is you want something that's not hard. You want to really, this sponge is very squishy. And so what that does is it doesn't pick up the makeup off your face. It helps it to set. It helps it to press it into the skin so it looks like it's part of your skin, so it looks like skin and not makeup. But you don't want a hard sponge because then it can just take off the makeup you just put on, and how wasteful is that? Okay. If you've got Bella bronzer, which I highly recommend everybody grabs Bella bronzer because it's beautiful. This is how I love to put my bronzer on. The bottom of the Perfector sponge, just tap it, press it, and then I come in and I put bronzer on those high points of the face where the sun would naturally hit you. And by using the bottom of the Perfector sponge, I find I can get a really beautiful bronzer without disturbing the makeup that I just put on. And you know, you don't want to move around the makeup that you just put on, right? So kind of the high points of the face. Some people like to go across their nose because that's where the sun would naturally hit you. So that's how we can get a beautiful bronzy glow. And then the blush and bronzer brush is great to just come in and kind of press around to make sure that it's blended nicely. But now I've got a little extra sun-kissed glow to my skin. If you have got yourself a little larger compact, the other side can be for your eyeshadows, lip conditioner, and I love doing a brow from the compact. So I actually have brow wax in here and a dark eyeshadow that I love to use for eyebrows. So I'll show you that really quickly. Take my setting spray and my brow wax. My brow wax is starting to run a little bit low. It's time for a new one. I've had it for several months and I use it every day, a couple times a day because I do tutorials. Taking my line brush and just smooshing around in the compact. And this is like brow gel, and it'll make the hairs on your brows stay in place. And then if you want a little extra pop, you can just flip it around and use a dark matte eyeshadow. I'm using Philly to give the eyebrows a little extra pop. I like to usually start in the center and work my way back so that if I have quite a bit of shadow on the brush, it is always on the second half of the brow, which is where you want your brows to be more defined anyways. And then if you use the spoolie to comb it again, you can give that hair the look of hairs. Oh, I got a little bit here. It's okay, that's easy to correct. Okay, so now let's do some quick, really super quick eyeshadow with just one color. I'm gonna grab the end of the detail brush. This is a really fluffy end. I love that the brushes are double-ended because then you get a 2-for-1 deal. So what I'm gonna do is just make sure I don't have any excess on my eyelids, and I'm gonna just do one eyeshadow color, which is Bubba, which is one of my favorites for us blue-eyed gals. Just tapping lightly, and then I have a brush. This is a brush cleaning tile. So if you have any excess eyeshadow on your brushes or you're switching between colors, you can just use that brush cleaning tile to sort of get any excess off. And then I'm just gonna windshield wiper motions sort of in that crease and above. If you're just doing one color, you can grab a nice fluffy brush and sort of start midway, like middle of the eye. The second half, like the posterior half of your eye, with just one color, and you can get a really pretty eyeshadow in just a couple seconds. Some people also love to use Bella bronzer on their eyelids, especially if you're blue-eyed. It will really make the blue eyes pop. That's it. Everything in one compact, simple, fits in your purse. And that is how you set up your compact and do your first application with Seint. And if you'd like a little extra glow when you're finished your makeup, take the Illuminator. Illuminator is for that extra J-Lo glow. And you just want to place that where the light hits your cheeks, and maybe just a bit on the tip of the nose and the Cupid's bow. See how that gives the skin just another extra glow? So if you love a really glowy makeup, a nice cheek, a nice pop on the cheek, you can just use that to give you that extra dewy look. I call it the J-Lo glow because J-Lo always has those beautiful high cheekbones with that pop of light